Welcome to a brand new podcast, Little Warriors. I'm your host, Rebecca Horan, and on episode 11, I'm talking to one of America's leading family therapists, Dr. Becky Whetstone. But before we get into it, thanks to Loopy Loo by Lidl for supporting Little Warriors. I never miss an opportunity to get into Lidl to stock up for so many bits for my kids, especially because my youngest is still in their Loopy Loo nappies and they've got the Loopy Loo biodegradable water wipes and the pants right up to size 7 as well. And do make sure to keep an eye on the Lidl Plus app for regular offers on the Loopy Loo range. And thanks again to Loopy Loo by Lidl for supporting the podcast. Right, let's get into it. Well, an absolute honour to be joined on the podcast today by Dr. Becky Whetstone, PhD, family and marriage counsellor, but of course author as well. And that's, I guess, predominantly why I wanted to speak to you today, because you're talking to us from Arkansas in America, here in Ireland, about all of the things that affect families, I think, most deeply to do with, I suppose, marital split. So thank you so much for joining us on the pod.
I'm honored to be here, and I love your accent so much.
Oh God, love you. I think you're the only one in the world who loves my accent, but I'll take it. Thank you so much.
So. Yeah. Americans are nuts for the Irish accent.
Americans are nuts. I must move over and start a podcast over there. It'll do very well. You know what? This whole season of this podcast was about children and minding our children and helping them from dealing with neurodiversity to bullying within the schools and antisocial behaviour. But one of the biggest things that affects children, as we know, is a trauma in their childhood, and it doesn't have to be, is when a marriage breaks down or a relationship breaks down and the changes that can bring. And what you're doing is so great, because at the core you're saying this happens. I'm not saying it's inevitable, but it happens. Let's help our children.
Yeah, I think that because the nature of divorce, is, two people are saying, I don't want to be with you anymore. Well, usually it's one is saying it and the other is forced to go along with it.
Is that usually what happens? It's one, it's never really, it's not always both? No, okay.
I think it's in romance novels or movies where they say, we both chose to leave the marriage. I mean, I've talked to thousands of couples, and it's always one wanting out and the other not wanting out.
Oh,
and that's
God.
the dynamic of marriage crisis. I call myself the marriage crisis manager. So I attract people who are trying to decide what to do about their very unhappy marriages. And sometimes a little tweaking will get them right back on the road and get their marriage working well. And sometimes, it's more complicated than that.
Hang on. Tweaking is such sorry, I just want to pick that. Tweaking is such a base word. Like tweaking, sometimes better communication, better sex, better, a date night. Like tweaking when something feels very dead in the water and bad. Do you think a tweak can help? That's so interesting.
Oh, no, there's no question about it, because, one of the things I say all the time is, people don't know a damn thing about how to have a healthy relationship. Most people are winging it. What we really need is to take let's say 3 or 4 courses in school about basic family dynamics and how to communicate with people, how to have a healthy relationship with yourself, which is first and foremost, and then how to be healthy and communicate in relationships, and even child dynamics, how to be a parent. But no one studies this, and without the knowledge, you're winging it. You don't know what you're doing, and your old childhood wounds that you haven't dealt with are going to play a huge role in how you handle things. And so good people who have no awareness, they're like the remedial level of relationship skills, like preschool level, and then they're getting married and having families and making a mess. And so I have found with some a little education about expectations and communication skills and how to keep yourself regulated is all it takes to get somebody to go, oh, okay, well, if it's going to be like this, then I can stay, and this is one of my things that drives me crazy is I feel people trying to manage it themselves, they haven't been able to get out of the ditch. They're stuck in the ditch. They don't know how to get out. And so they're just going, well, let's get a divorce, and I think that some people are ending up unnecessarily divorced.
But Dr.
So I'm
Becky,
really wanting
what
people
if
out
like the
there
song
getting.
says, when love breaks down, what if there is no actual compatible love? There's no kindness there. There's no likability there. There's no sex. The intimacy is gone. What if, yes, you talk about tweaking, and you're correct, we have no clue. We have no clue. You could have had very bad role models in your parents, and then you head into like this love bombing and sexy times, and then you have babies. And we really don't know what the hell we're at when we're navigating relationships. And you're correct, counseling, therapy, help in school, like relationships are so complex and nuanced. But what if you actually just don't really love the person that you're living with and raising children with? You think that can still be helped?
Well, no, and I'm not trying to say that most marriages that end in divorce could have been saved. I'm saying there's some that sadly people end up divorced prematurely before they've really looked into the dynamics of their relationship. But I think that you really need a professional who understands mental disorders, because they're going to be able to tell when they're working with the couple if someone's got, a mental disorder that makes it impossible to have a healthy relationship with them. I mean, there are mental disorders that are not fixable, that are finite, and so no, when there's abuse, the three marital felonies are adultery, abuse, and addiction. So I liken it to, you can have crimes in marriage that are parking tickets, speeding tickets, drunk driving tickets, felonies, and capital crimes. And so this is why the process is complicated, because, a therapist knows which things can be overcome and which things cannot. But I had a couple yesterday where the husband's hell bent on getting a divorce, and after 30 years of marriage, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. He's just, and I told the wife, your next step is to accept this. I mean, I can't, your marriage could have been fixed. He has zero desire.
Why is that, do you think people have zero desires? Other interests, a love interest, or just complacency?
I think he has moved out of their house about 3 years ago, moved to another state in the United States, and has been having numerous girlfriends, been on dating sites, and now he's in love. So when a person's in love, they're with another person, a third person, they're unreachable. You just can't. They're not going to want to come work on their marriage, which at this point, because he's in a love trance, his marriage looks dull, boring, and ordinary to him compared to what he's doing right now.
Is
But
marriage?
of course, I try to tell him that relationship's going to also end up dull and boring one day.
But is adultery or an affair or a distraction or something that seems is that the end? Can that be the end game for a marriage? You're saying there, this man is in love, and it happens. People do fall in and out of love. We know that we're dopamine addicted, and we like feeling desired. Women love to feel desired, so do men. When that all runs a bit thin and boring and you've kids, is adultery an end game for many? Is it kind of, how do you come back from that?
Well, 75% of marriages overcome infidelity, and there's different levels of seriousness of infidelity. There's, the most benign, for lack of a better word, is, you were on a business trip, you met somebody, you got seduced, and you don't even know, you're never going to see them again, and you didn't care anything about them, and that's that. So those are the easiest ones to overcome. And the worst ones, are like the guy who had a many years long affair, maybe even a child with the person, and then it's revealed. Those are next to impossible to overcome.
So when it's carried on, it's prolonged. There's love there. There's secrecy. There's deceit. That is very hard for you to overcome. Whereas it's kind of a one night stand or a bit of a fling or a bit of excitement is a different game.
Yeah, and the person who cheated, their attitude is of utmost importance. You know, I see people, the ones that are that have the best chance for recovery. The person who cheated is mortified with themselves.
Mm,
They are they are willing to make amends. They will do anything to
wow.
win back the trust of their
Wow.
spouse.
Okay.
And then there's other people who have a more half-assed attitude about, well, you weren't giving me what I needed in the marriage, and so I reached out to somebody else. Well, those are going to be harder to overcome because I think to really forgive someone, the person who did the crime has to have this extreme expression of remorse,
Mm,
mortification with self, and a willingness to make it right.
yes.
So the attitude of the cheater is a huge big
Wow,
thing,
that's
and
so
you
interesting.
can usually tell right off the bat. I had the worst I ever saw was a husband who told his wife, "I cheated on you because you deserved it."
Oh,
I
gosh.
know it made me cringe too. It sent chills up my spine,
You
and I just thought,
deserve
how cold
it.
can you be?
Wouldn't you
And
rather just separate and move on than punish someone like that and put them through that state? I mean,
well, I was kind of hoping the wife would cut him loose, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but they went back out into the world. But I had the feeling that she was going to keep trying to save that
why
marriage.
is
But
that, Dr. Becky? Why do women, and like I think we can look at stats, try and please don't tell me it's the archaic view of the family unit and saving the family and the kids. Why do so many women put up with abusive relationships or, like you're talking about infidelity or adultery or someone who's a narcissist and who's why is there this kind of like in their workplace they can be very strong within the world socially with family and then this person is disrespecting them and it's acceptable. Very strange.
well, I don't think most women don't think it's acceptable, but I think that attachment is complicated, and I think that a woman with low self-esteem who has a terrible relationship with herself may think
Wow.
this is all she can land, all, that kind of what she deserves. And,
Wow.
and so a lot of, and that's why I say, the relationship with yourself is of utmost importance. There's a lot of women who don't have proper boundaries to protect themselves from people who harm them, and so it's funny because if you don't have boundaries to protect yourself from people who would do you harm, well, the people who would do you harm can smell you like a cat can smell a mouse, and it's like they know they can, come in and do whatever they want, and you're going to put up with it for a long, long time. Now, these women
Wow.
tell themselves he's going to change, he's going to change, he's going to change because they're not like bad guys in a movie with no redeeming qualities. Usually, they come out of their abusive episodes and make love bomb their woman and be really nice and sweet for a period of time, and then the tension builds again, and then they have another explosive horrible episode. But the woman tells herself the lie that if he could just be that wonderful guy, that he was, for 2 weeks, then I could be happy forever. And on average, it takes, a woman to leave a man like that 7 times before she really understands that it's a cycle, and he's not going to ever stop and stay in that pleasant honeymoon part of the cycle. He's always going to cycle back to the abusive behavior. So and then there's love addiction, where you're just like that person. There's something about their essence or their chemistry that when you're around them, you feel a certain kind of way, and you want to have that drug, even though it's not healthy for you.
So you are fascinating because you're dealing with crisis within a home and a relationship, repair. Sometimes you're dealing with heartache, you're dealing with the myriad, I think mental, you're talking about narcissism or cheating or adultery, and you're really trying to heal. But if you cannot heal, and that's end game, what about these beautiful children? So talk to me about that work.
Well, I feel like, every person I work with is concerned about their children as they approach the divorce decision. And I've had people whose divorce decision was long overdue because of
It
their
was affecting
concern.
the kids.
Well, I mean, they were afraid that it would ruin their kids' lives. So a lot of people stay in their marriages maybe longer than they would have because of their contemplation about how it's going to affect their children. And then, they get into the divorce process, and typically, what's been happening is they might be in marriage therapy. They may decide to divorce. They announce to their therapist, well, we're going to get divorced. Then they go straight to the lawyer, and the lawyer doesn't care about your family, and they're adversarial, and they are out for blood, and they're going to send nasty letters, and they're going to send you offers that would leave you destitute, that really insulting offers, settlement offers. And so then of course, people get ignited, they get afraid, they get terrified, and then they act terribly. And then, and now we have a scenario where we're not going to have two calm co-parents who can do right by their children. So this is why I'm suggesting to couples that we change our culture. I would love to put the family lawyer, or I think y'all call them solicitors over there, out of business. And it'll be like, well, we'll welcome you back into the ending of a marriage fold if you will promise not to be nasty, adversarial, and draw blood, and keep the family's best interest at heart.
I completely agree with you. I think this is so brilliant, and we're not hearing enough about this in Ireland. I mean, sorry, just to cut in, we have so many situations of friends, and we're quite new to separation divorce. Ireland are so behind. This has only come into play, as you know, in the last few years. I mean, America, divorce is there, it's an option, people do it, there's prenups. Ireland is so new to this game, and because of that it's great, because it's also given people choices, options, freedom. Great. Okay, we all should be encouraged to be able to make decisions when we're really not happy in a relationship. However, the solicitors, the barristers, the lawyers, it is always suddenly a family unit that was good, but the parents needed to go their separate ways. It suddenly gets so nasty, vindictive. There's name calling. She was actually a bit of a drinker, she's not a great mom, he's this, he's absent, and money. And the whole thing goes from just being, we cannot live and cohabit, but you know what, we can co-parent, to absolute war. And what you're saying is this does not need to happen, and it is more damaging. Forget the two adults, it's more damaging for the children who are caught in the middle.
I want to make it socially unacceptable to have a nasty divorce. I feel like, again, I think I encourage couples, because in the past they decide maybe at the marriage therapist's office that they're going to get a divorce, so they leave therapy. Why wouldn't you stick with therapy, the two of you, during one of life's most frightening, horrible experiences, and let the therapist coach you through it to making sane choices? I even have a friend right now who's getting a divorce here in my town, and I know he and his wife, and I love them both. And, and he'll text me and go, well, I'm going to try and take the kids from her. And I will go like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm just telling him, like, just because your wife has left your marriage, and unlike many people who leave a marriage, it's like a bird out of a cage, and they start drinking too much and becoming promiscuous and acting crazy. It's usually for a temporary period of time, and they'll come back to balance. But if you start trying to take the kids away from them during their crazy time, then it's going to end up being a bloodbath, and you're not going to be able to co-parent your child. And the truth is that even parents who drink too much still get custody of their kids. I mean, most judges don't want to hear your cheating stories. They don't want to hear about how you have a couple of drinks at night. They don't want to hear about all of that, right? So these people that are, I found out my wife's doing this, so now I'm going to go after her. Those are the situations that need to stop. Even a not so great parent is better than no parent at all. And if you are expecting perfection from your co-parent, you can forget it.
I know.
People will tell me, my spouse can only afford a studio and my child's going to be sleeping on the floor.
Oh
Well,
God, I
who
know.
cares?
Who cares? Your
Kids
child's
love
with their dad.
for a kid, that's like camping. You're trying to make that into a terrible thing,
Oh, I
and the
know.
kid won't think that's a terrible thing.
It's like Mrs.
You know, so
Doubtfire when he was trying to win back, the kids and be visible and be present and spend those days with those kids. Heartbreaking when you think back, but when you look at the film, it was so innocent. But actually, it was a man trying to regain some control and trust. And like you said, the kids just want to sit and eat slop with their dad and watch films and converse, and this kind of idealized, we both have to have mansions and we both have to have a summer
exactly.
house and we both have to have perfect new partners to compete. Well, actually, kids don't want to be in foster care with random people or with the state or with Auntie Joan.
No,
They want to be with their folks.
they even want to be with their dysfunctional parent that they can't always count on. And so, I'm just telling people, and people will go, well, I don't want to give her half of my business. Well, you know what? Just hand it over, because if you don't do what the law is telling you that you're supposed to do, they're going to make you do it. So why are you going to try and go through this process of giving her less than 50%, for example, when it's going to poison your relationship in co-parenting moving forward? I'm just telling people, when you go through the divorce process, yeah, talk to a lawyer about what your rights are, and then do right by your partner, even though you don't want to, and your kids are watching. And if you want to starve out their mom, or not make sure their mom, or dad exits this in a stable and solid way, your kids are going to hold that against you later. The kids are looking to see how each parent fares, so like I've had so many, especially dads, go, I'm not paying her child support. And I'll tell them, the law says you are going to, so don't even bring it up. Don't even start this. Just do the right thing. So I try to talk sense into people, and then I'm telling them, here's the deal. Okay, so you've got a girlfriend and you're leaving your wife, but you need to put your children first now. If you want to stay married, then you can put you and your marriage first over the children. That's the healthier dynamic in families. But if you choose divorce, kids don't want divorce, most of them. It's foisted on them. They're forced to deal with it. It's something their parent wants. And so then you need to put them first. And the best thing you could do is keep your boyfriends and girlfriends out of their life for a significant period of time, and just spend time alone with them until they are moving on and kind of getting to an age when they're focused more on their friends.
But Dr. Becky, you said an interesting thing there. Parents want the divorce because the relationship is toxic and they know it's not viable and they can't continue. And you're saying children will never choose that. They will never choose to have a unit split, or even if the parents cohabit in a home for a while, they don't like that feeling. But can I put to you also, for children, is it in some cases, I actually think many cases, if a marriage is rotten, is it not better for children? Or are you actually are you countering my argument by saying, really, even if a marriage is shit, it's better you stay together for the kids?
No, I mean, you're going to find kids who are relieved when their parents get a divorce if it's highly volatile and crazy and, and screaming and yelling. I mean, some children are relieved, but I think, maybe it's underneath all that. They're like, why do they have to be this way? Why can't they just behave themselves and keep our family intact,
Okay.
But I think that that's the exception, is the nasty, volatile, screaming marriage. Most marriages are more under the radar to their kids and their
Tension.
unhappiness. Yeah, exactly. And so the kids, they don't want to go back and forth to two different homes. It's stressful for them. and then if you bring other people in their lives, that's like forcing them to have this stranger in their lives and asking them to be comfortable with maybe another person and maybe another person's kids. And you want to create a combined blended family. Well, the research shows that most kids never adjust to a
Wow,
blended family.
that's very
Never
interesting.
feel they never feel comfortable with it. Some do, but the research I've seen says that if they do, it takes at least 5 years.
Wow.
And so a child, when they're with dad and his new girlfriend or kids, feel like an outsider when they're coming to visit. And they feel like they don't belong. And then a lot of parents, unfortunately, force their kids, well, you are going out with the whole family, and you are going to go out with us on this trip, and forcing the kid to be a part of a group that I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. I've
And,
dogs.
and angry. Oh, my Lord. My dog got caught in my purse strap.
Oh, you're okay. Hi, dog.
Oh my God, I'm so,
Don't
hey,
worry. Lucky we're not live.
hey. Oh, how embarrassing.
Don't be ridiculous. We can edit all of that. Do you, in a weird way, think we should just never get married? Is it a route that's very difficult? I don't know whether you're married, but is it a route that is not for everyone? Like we meet in our 20s, we have a very strange, our frontal cortex isn't really fully formed, and we fall hook, line and sinker for John, and we set up home and we do the 2.5 kids and we get jobs in corporate, I don't know, banking. And then suddenly you're like 40 and you're like, shit, is this it? Is this? And you love these 2 or 3 kids and you're so, things are safe, but they're not great. And a lot of us nowadays, Dr. Becky, are being told, more so than the 50s, 60s, 70s, be free, be happy, make changes in your life. If you want to, stop, drink, get fit, get healthy, leave your marriage if it's toxic. Like, we're all being empowered to make the right, better choices because life is so short. But in a way, you're saying these big life choices are kind of selfish because you're damaging a whole unit.
Well, the research is that most people will never fully recover from the divorce experience.
Wow.
And most people stay angry about it for life. Okay. I'm actually interviewing children of divorce right now. And if anyone wants to join in that conversation, please contact me because I'm doing research. These are children whose parents divorced, but they're now grown. And I'm asking them, like, what did your parents get right? What did your parents get wrong? What do you want all parents considering divorce to know from a child's point of view? What would have been better for you? What would have helped you? And the things people are telling me are so fascinating. And one of the themes that's already showing up in these conversations is the parents that left them in the dark. Just said, we're moving to the next state or the next area of the country or whatever, and they don't even tell the kid why or how much they're going to see their other parent or if they'll see them. So a lot of kids are kept in the dark about what's going on, and all the grown children of divorce I've talked to so far have said, just tell us what's going on. Don't try to protect us from stuff. Just we want to.
Because it's a trauma, right? You're constantly like, what the hell happened, and you feel it's your fault then.
Yeah, well, it's like if dad suddenly disappears from your life, as happened to one of my people that I'm talking to. They're like, what happened? Why am I not seeing dad anymore? I don't understand. Like, did he do something? Like, what's going on? Does he not love me anymore? And a child processes things with the child brain, and they can't even be a critical thinker until they're 11 or 12 years old. And so that's the other thing is kids aren't able to cognitively process things like you and I can now. They make crazy sense of things, and they tell themselves things that aren't true, like my parents got a divorce because I was a terrible child or whatever. And so I think that, again, if you're going to get a divorce, if you can just focus on their well-being, because for the most part, kids say, all I wanted after the divorce was to be alone with my dad or be alone with my mom. I did not want to have their new mate with me. I didn't want to be a third wheel on a picnic with my mom and her boyfriend kind of stuff, you know. And if they would have just focused on me, you know, I think I would have made it out better. So I am kind of asking parents who choose to divorce to educate themselves very thoroughly about blended family dynamics. There are rules and things to know
But
that
also
have been
fall
researched.
in love with Billy down the road and then go and form a relationship, but don't make your kid form a relationship with Billy. Like, I presume there's a
That's
respect
right.
back, like I presume there's a barometer of care here. You're entitled after your divorce to move on and go forth, but don't force your kid into something that they're not in love with him like you are. They don't really care for his kids. They don't really want to have stuff. So leave that alone. Do date nights, do your cinema nights, but
Yes.
be with your children, and then let the same
Yes.
happen. And I think that's a very interesting point. We're all looking at this bizarre, oh, let's just come by, yeah, let's all just bond, and you're going to love him because I love him and he changed my life, and your dad wasn't great, so this is. And it's like, that's not what kids are really basic in what their needs are. Dad is dad, mom is mom. I don't
They
care
are.
for your lover. Yeah.
To force your child to go along with the new boyfriend or spouse or their kids, to force them to accept it, is damaging to them. If they don't want to participate, you need to let them not participate. If they don't want to accept your new partner, you need to let them not accept your new partner. The more you allow your child to be who they are and to be where they are in the divorce process, the better for them. You know, but you know, I've had plenty of clients whose mom or dad said, "No, you're going to call my new husband dad," you know, or you know, and you are going to accept him, and you are going to listen to what he says when he tries to discipline you, and and all of that makes me cringe, because all of that's going to damage the child. All of it is like the biological parent should be the primary disciplinarian there. If the kids are over 8 or 9 years old, the new person coming into the child's life should be a kind of supportive friend and coach, and not act like a parent. You know, should leave the parenting to the biological parent. I have couples I see right now where they're blended family, and the dad or mom want to control and parent their spouse's teenage kids, and they're about to
Jeez.
get divorced over this.
Oh my
Like
God.
I think they may not make it because, and I tell the person, you need to let mom discipline her own teenage kids, and you need to back out of it and stay out of it. And some people won't control themselves. I mean,
Doc,
they're just hell bent on doing what they want to do, and they won't stop, and they'll end up divorced.
what is the lifelong damage, Dr. Becky? I mean, I have friends whose parents were miserable when they grew up, and they did, in inverted commas, the right thing, right? They stayed together. It was probably more traditional, and it was what was the done thing maybe in the past in Ireland. And they did stay together, and there's a lot of damaged, I have a lot of damaged friends in their 30s and 40s who were like, I wish mum and dad had split. It was a shitty household to grow up in. It was toxic. There was tensions. No, there wasn't like people throwing ornaments across the room, but what there was a real feeling of unhappiness and unsettled. So I wish they had divorced. But then you're also saying the children who've come out of divorce are damaged too. Is there a more susceptible, vulnerable child, or is it just about doing this better?
I think the kids that fare the best have the least amount of drastic change in their life. You
Okay.
know, I think that, you know, and one of the things I'm asking for couples who want to divorce to do is to slow down the process and
Okay.
take the parting one bite at a time, so that, because some people will file for divorce in September, it'll be final in December, and then they're dating in January, and that's too much for a kid to handle. That's even for those of us that get divorced. An adult also can't handle a lot of change in a short period of time. It causes all sorts of, depression, stress, and physical illness when you have too many changes in a short period of time. So I'm asking people just to slow down the process and give everybody a chance to adjust along the way. Now, if let's say you're a middle class family with a nice lifestyle, and y'all get a divorce, and mom and dad's the one that leaves, and if both of y'all are gonna do okay financially and have similar kind of houses and stuff, that's less stressful for a kid than if a kid sees, say, their mom get a divorce and now she doesn't make it nearly as much money as dad, and so mom is struggling financially now. This affects the children. When they see it, they see dad's doing great, he's got plenty of money, mom can barely pay the bills.
Wow.
And then kids, think, I should be helping my mom, I should be rescuing my mom from this, and they can't because they're children, and that frustration leads to anger and depressed teenagers.
Okay.
And whatnot. So I think, as I say, that it's usually rich people who have the least problems in adjusting to divorce, because if you have two rich people, their life ain't going to change that much.
Sure. And
things
are split, and kids hopefully are living near enough, and they're not moving state, and there's no, and they're kind of still being taken care of, but there's less toxicity. So it's like everything, the rich fare better. But if you, like you've said, if there was a woman who was always within the home and she didn't work, so she's now dependent on her small amount of alimony or whatever she gets, and she's actually really struggling and not getting the holidays or anything for the kids. Yeah, that's sad. So it is also financial poverty for women, abuse, empowerment. Like there's so many strands to it. I think in all of this, the main kind of strand or what I'm taking from this is adults make mistakes. We are not perfect. We're human, and we make decisions. And I think in that is okay to make an adult decision, but make an adult decision not forgetting your little people who are not fully formed, who will carry this weight with them all of their lives. And within all the lawyers and the money and the greed, we're forgetting the things that are most important. So what you're trying to do, and I think you're like the little divorce whisperer, is magic in a little bit of care, hope, resilience. Like, please don't forget the people that you had together. You might hate him or you might hate her, but stop it with the who's going to get the dog and here's all the money and stop it. Okay.
Exactly. And I tell people, I've never met anyone post divorce who regretted doing right by their partner and doing right by their children. I do see people that beat themselves up over how they and their partner handled their divorce and have many, many, many regrets. The thing is, divorce brings out the worst in most people because it's about rejection, it's about pain, it's about broken hearts.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm asking people to just don't just do this. I'm filing for divorce and it's going to be over in 60 days and it's just too much. I'm just telling people, like, slow down. Try to be kind and respectful and do what's right by your family as a whole. Your kids are going to be telling the story of their parents' divorce one day. Everybody's got that paragraph. My parents' divorce was like this, And I hear way more awful stories than I do hopeful stories.
This kid is going to carry it into their dates. They're going to carry it into their career, their marriage. They're going to carry it on to their own kids. They're going to be like, this is what happened with mom and dad. And when we're in the midst of our own selfishness, we forget that. Where can people find your books? What are your books? Tell us a bit about you, because I really think Irish people could learn so much from your brilliant teachings.
Well, first of all, hi to Irish people. I adore you. And number two, I really do. I really do. And my book is called I Think I Want Out: What to Do When One of You
Wow.
Wants to Leave Your Marriage. And I
Wow.
take you all the way from start to finish. I tell you how you got yourself in that unhappy marriage fix. I tell you how to diagnose your marriage. I help you figure out what is the right pathway for you
Mm.
in this unhappy situation and how to do it where you have the least amount of mental and emotional distress for you and your children, and how to do an amicable divorce if that's the path that you choose. My website is
Mm.
marriagecrisismanager.com,
Love it.
and
No
that's what I
lawyers
do.
involved.
I coach people through this terrible time in their lives, and try to create the healthiest outcome for all members of the family.
Finally, Dr. Becky, you just said there briefly, I talk to people about, how the book deals with, how they got into this bad marriage fix and then how to diagnose. So how do people get into a situation where their marriage is rotten?
Well, first of all, like I said, our culture doesn't teach us anything about relationships, so we are very ignorant and naive, and we have no, and it's a learn. I think having a good relationship with yourself and other people is a learned skill. Like you have to be taught. You have to read about it. You're not just gonna know it, right? So no one does that. The other thing is a lot of people with terrible self-esteem. They have a terrible relationship with themselves. They have a lot of toxic shame, meaning they don't think they're good enough. They think there's something wrong with them, and they may be living out of these fake personas like overachievers or perfectionists or
Mm.
pleasers and whatnot. And so those are all dysfunctional things. And so people with a bad relationship with themselves are going out there and dating and getting married. And if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, there's no way you can have a good relationship with somebody else. So, I just see a lot of people marry for ridiculous reasons,
Go on.
not well thought out reasons, and then they end up incompatible, and so people don't know how to choose a mate. They don't, and here's one of my big pet peeves right here is, for me, if you're going to find somebody who's really really compatible with you, you probably need to date a huge sample size. Let's say you
Wow.
need to date dozens and dozens of people so you can see all kinds of people and start. It's like, how do you decide what food that you like? You taste a bunch of different
But
foods
what is your
and you
tip for finding a mate? Because sometimes we just go on like he's kind of friendly to my dad, or we had a great time in bed, or he's wealthy. Like, what is the tip for finding a mate? It's obviously not
Well,
black and white.
I think when you find somebody that's compatible for you, it's relatively easy, and I think, people do not hold out for a solid mate. Like, why would you marry anyone who is not solid? Meaning you can count on them. They're commitment
Wow.
oriented.
Wow.
They're emotionally available to you every day. They don't have temper tantrums.
Wow.
They act like adults. Instead, they do not act like a child.
It's the basic
They
stuff,
have
right?
they have integrity. They do what they say they're going to do,
Yes.
you
Okay.
know? And so, people ignore red flags
Mm.
and they settle, and they think, well, this is maybe the best I could attract.
Mm.
They pick from a small sample size. I mean, a lot of my girlfriends only dated two or three guys after high school or college, and then they chose one of those. And to me, like in my life, I mean, I hate, maybe this is embarrassing, but I have dated probably 300 guys in my life,
Wow.
maybe.
Dr. Becky, you are on fire.
I was
Like, woo.
I've been single a lot, and for years at a time, And I just really believed that I needed to go, and I'm learning more and more about relationships, and I start realizing that the odds of me finding a really great person for me that fits me and accepts me the way I am, is not trying to change me. I probably need to date dozens and dozens of people to find that person. The odds that you can date 1 to 5 people and find your life mate is like winning the lottery.
Oh
I mean,
my
it's just,
God. All of us are
so I,
rethinking our entire lives. We're all
I
like
know,
sitting
but
back after.
so this is what I think. There's a lazy dating problem. I think people are lazy daters,
I don't think
and the
it's even
truth is,
that. I think it's just convention. I think it's actually more of a social, particularly in Ireland, Dr. Becky. Maybe it's different in America. I mean, we're not all in Sex and the City here. I think it's a conventional construct and a social construct and a cultural one where by we do maybe mate and have fun in our like early 20s, and it's a bit of crack, and we go to college and we come out of it, and it is a bit like everyone's getting engaged, everyone is settling down, cop on, he's lovely, she's lovely, mum and dad like them, he's kind of cute. I don't necessarily think it's that we're lazy about it. I think it's just there's so much bloody pressure, and I actually think you're talking about parents here. Parents need to butt out. Leave Johnny be single for 10, 15 years until he's actually ready to find someone, because I think there is a lot of pressure.
well, I think, part of being a healthy adult is not conforming to what the culture is telling you should do, but
Mm-hmm.
being more true to yourself. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you're ever going to be, I think you're never going to be as healthy as you could be
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're conforming to please your biological family or your religion or your culture or whatever. So the more your family, culture, religion try to constrict you and put rules on you and demands, the less healthy a person's going to be. So the human beings thrive in freedom, and we thrive in being able to be ourselves. And
Mm.
so I really think if you want to find a great partner, first of all, I don't know if you've noticed, but you can date boys or you can date men. I
Ah.
suggest I suggest I suggest that you throw your fishing hook in the man pool
Wow. That is a clanger.
and
That
not
is the clip of the podcast, Dr. Becky. I
and
just
not
love
tolerate the
that.
hijinks of an immature man or woman. I mean, if like, for the worst choice in the world is like a party girl or a party boy, like you are signing up for trouble with a capital T. That's not solid. So that's the other thing is, I don't know if you've dated that much yourself, but I remember at a point when I got to be a certain age, I realized that I was dating more men, and not, I could see the difference between a man and a boy, you know.
Yes. Your
And
next
I'm
book
like,
is
it's
Don't Pick the
like
Boy, Pick the Man, or I don't know, something along that lines. Oh,
yeah,
Dr.
so
You're a fountain of knowledge. You are trying to help families. You're trying to keep things out of the courts, and if they have to go to the courts, keeping it, as amicable as it can be. Things obviously when relationships break down can be nasty, but how do we avoid that? Thank you so much. You are absolutely brilliant, and your book is brilliant. I've had a lot of research done on you since that we arranged this interview, and I know that you'll be very helpful to Irish families kind of in need of something that's a little bit more holistic and less nasty. So thank you so much, Dr. Becky Whetstone.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.